Well, I'll say an old sailor will do anything, but I'm down here with the Swansea Caves boat, and with me is, of course, one of the greatest sweeps in Australia, Ken Murray, and Ken's going to tell us about what Swansea will be doing on Saturday. Ken, how are you?
Good, thanks, Noel. It's a little bit wetter. I'm making it a little bit uncomfortable.
It's wetter in the water, but now what are all these old boats doing in this boat?
It's wonderful to see them come back again, and it's for a fantastic cause for the subnormal children and for our surf club. And we're going to row over a quarter-mile course here for 24 hours, and our crew here, 3 or 4 of them, are going to start this off. And up the front here we have one fellow that was in our first championship boat crew that ever won a title for us, and that's Les Train. And Merv Neal's our next one from the front down, and he won in 1940. And we've got Tom York here, who was up in nearly every championship for about nearly 20 years, Tommy, in rowing. And they're going to kick this thing off because we'll be at a carnival at Redhead, and we won't be able to get back here till about 6. So they're going to start it all off and row like hell, and they've been training. And I think it should go off quite well. And in the back here we have Les Harmon. He's also won a championship for the club sweeping, and it's good to see these fellas come back with the interest they have to help us out in the manner and the attitude they've got towards it. I can't understand the rain. It's been such a perfect day. You're just trying to dampen everything for us.
Ken, you'll be rowing for 24 hours, and what does this constitute? How much money do you think you'll raise?
Oh, gee, no, I don't know. I've never heard of anyone trying it before, and it seemed like a silly scheme at the start, but I sincerely hope we make a lot of money for the subnormal children.
Now, how many crews are taking part in it besides the old fellas?
Well, I'd say anyone that can get a sponsor that can row, will make sure they've got a couple of good rowers to keep them on course. And I'd say we've got about 6 boat crews training here, and they'll be non-stop with 2 boats, and plus anyone else that we can get in.
Well, of course, there's been at times criticism levelled at surf life-saving clubs, but I think most people realise the great job that they do throughout the year, and particularly throughout the summer season, and this is no mean feat for you boys.
No, you're pretty right there, and it's hard to raise funds, and I think in this cause the other people that are helping us with their charity body, I think we should go all right, because the public's pretty wonderful, really, because that's where all our funds come from.
Well, so much for the old fellas, Ken. I think they're doing a magnificent job. They still look as fit as ever. One of them down the back there, they tell me that he could still play football, but I think he's a better rower the way he's going today. Anyhow, we hope to see you all down at where?
Here in the Swansea Channel for the rowathon, starting on next Saturday night at 5 o'clock, right through till Sunday afternoon at the same time at 5 for the full 24 hours.
This is the first of 3 rooms for the young people, and this is their coffee bar.
Some wild decorations.
It's very withered, yes, and they've decorated themselves. And downstairs we have a lounge room where they watch films, and they also have a television set. And then they have a main hall for their dances and socials. And
you'll have induction loops in all 3 of these when the scheme is
yes,
finished.
it will be in all 3.
And this will, of course, let them hear the band and dance
Yes,
the music of the band.
This helps greatly.
Well, induction loops aren't given away free. Where did the money come from?
Well, the money came from the Newcastle Central Lions Club, and we're very grateful to them for giving the young people this amenity to help them.
And just what will it mean to them?
Well, with today's modern hearing aids, it has an attachment built in, and they pick up any sound from the loop system, and this...
If we hold that earpiece up, we can run playing.
Yes. And this cuts off any outside sound, and they just hear what's being fed into the amplifier.
Just on 2 years ago, it was my pleasure to interview, in my opinion, one of the most knowledgeable men of soccer that I've ever met, and that was Detmar Kramer. And he's back at Adamstown Rosebuds Club after Australia has just been defeated by Israel. And it's my pleasure to introduce you to Detmar Kramer. Detmar, could you tell us a little about the game Australia playing Israel?
Yes, of course I can. I was very hopeful. I think like every soccer fan in Australia has been, I was very hopeful Australia would win, because I do know Australia need to improve the image of soccer football, but Australia did a good job. Every player did his best, there's no doubt about. But on the other hand, Israel is a bit better team.
And now, you have been away for 2 years from Australia. Now, have you noticed in your return here anything different in Australia's soccer?
Yeah, so far I've been in Dubbo and Parkes and Sydney, and as I think, for instance, the coaching association is better organized than 2 years ago, and this makes pretty sure the standard of coaching has improved a lot. And I think if you watch your youngsters, I've seen, for instance, a curtain riser on Sunday in Sydney, 2 teams from Newcastle and Sydney under 16. This was a pretty good game and a very promising game. So I think there is improvement since 2 years, and this makes hopeful.
Detmar, going back 2 years almost in my own memory, and I'm not too sure, but didn't you go to Japan, or weren't you in Japan?
I've been from here, I think we haven't time enough to tell where I've been. I went to Korea, Japan and USA and Switzerland and Germany and Curacao and USA again, Trinidad, Barbados, Mexico, Brazil, and afterwards Africa, Egypt and Sudan and Kenya, Tanzania, Lesotho, Ghana, Nigeria, Gambia, Senegal, Morocco, Tunisia, Israel, 4 months Japan again, last month New Zealand, and now I'm happy to be back in Australia.
You left out Parramatta. That's the fact between you and I, Detmar. Detmar, what of the Mexico soccer now, the big games over there? Who are the teams that you feel are going to be the final 4, and what chances do you give these teams?
At first, I think I have to point it out, I never won 1 cent. I never have won 1 cent from any football pool. I'm not a prophet. I think I know something about international football, but football and the ball is round, you see, is very difficult to know in advance. But I have a secret favorite. My secret favorite is England, and I will explain why. An English professional player has a better professional sense, in my opinion, than any other professional player in the world. And England has got a very strong personality as a team manager, Sir Alf Ramsey. And this has a very important part in Mexico, because in Mexico the teams are at least 6, most teams 8 weeks together. That means young men between 20 and 30 years old, without drinks, without girls, far away from home for 6-8 weeks. And from this side arising a lot of psychological problems. And only a team with a good discipline and with a strong personality as a team manager will overcome those difficulties. So on one hand, my secret favorite is England, but even Germany is better than 3 years ago in England. Italy is much stronger than any time before, and Brazil especially is a dark horse. Maybe the style of playing football in Brazil looks a bit old-fashioned, but Brazil has got outstanding individual players, and they're every time able to blame every expert. Maybe you dominate for 80 minutes, but 10 minutes a player like Pelé, Rivellino or any other, he beats 2 or 3 of yours individually and scores. And so Brazil has got a big advantage because they've got so outstanding individual talents.
In Mexico, during the Olympic Games, Detmar, we had the problem of some athletes not being able to manage the altitude. Now, is this going to affect the soccer in any way?
Of course, maybe not as much as a long distance runner, because a soccer player has always some breaks to recover again, and a long distance runner while running 5,000, 10,000 meters or marathon distance not. But that's the reason why the teams are coming 3, 4, 5, England maybe 5 weeks before start of competition to Mexico, to get familiar to the circumstances. On one hand, necessary to be acclimatized, but on the other hand, as I told, arising a lot of psychological problems.
Well, my guest has been, in my opinion, Mr. Soccer of the World, Detmar Kramer.